Alright, it's about time I get on here and make some videos. It's been a long time. So I am Disgruntled Skeleton. You can just call me Skeleton. The main reason I'm getting on here to make videos is because I am terrible at committing to working on stuff, and so making a video like forces me to make a continuity that I have to follow, like a plan. So the main inspiration for me, it really is Yellow Mustang on YouTube. He does some cool videos. So a lot of his stuff I'm learning from his content. But anyways, so I've made a game called Skeleton City in the past, and now I'm going to really dive in and make it much better because I have a lot more experience now. So my inspirations. Okay, so this is what you're looking at. This is not my background. This is my desktop. Okay, so here's my inspirations for Skeleton City. We've got generic RPG. That is probably the biggest inspiration that I've come across in recent times. Hilarious game. So we're gonna kind of model off that that theme of like there's different jobs to roleplay as, and with a huge emphasis on like multiplayer interactions, like social interactions, and then a lot of this other stuff is just visual, kind of like story themes. So this right here, Mo Creeps and Weirdos, was an old mod for Minecraft back in like the day, which was cool. And I love the idea of just like almost psychedelic, like random characters that just kind of like wander around and do like have their own behaviors and stuff. Love that. I'm gonna try and incorporate that. Mac tonight, you'll see. This guy's freaking cool. You'll see where he's incorporated. Echoes. This is just some cool painting that I got at like a Hot Topic. It's like a wallpaper made by some guy called Tom Massey. He's got some cool friggin' paintings, but you can kind of see a common trend, like psychedelic, like dream worlds. I really like that stuff. So this also kind of ties into like the Mo Creeps and Weirdos with like just the random characters and stuff. I really like that. And then Simpsons Hit and Run. We're gonna use their kind of style for world building a little bit. I really like that game a lot, and that's going to incorporate itself in. Okay, let's see. So what do we got? What do we have so far? So all I have built for this new Skeleton City is I've got like a base plate. You know how you start off with a base plate? It looks boring to me. So I did terrain generation. I made some sand dunes because I like deserts. And then I went in and I optimized it the best I could. I just removed all of the excess stuff beneath it that I didn't need. And then the first job that I'm working on for this game is like a journalist job. So there's going to be a corruption system in the game where, you know, players can commit crimes, and it'll be like on the down low, like nobody will know, but like there's a corruption meter in the background counting. And then whenever like a player like commits a crime like in front of a cop or something, or like in front of like in public, then they'll become wanted, and like the reward for arresting that player or capturing him or whatever is based off of that corruption level. And so all I've got so far coded is a camera, and all it does is it flashes, makes a noise, and that's it. Was thinking about doing some ray casting with it. Might do some cool stuff. But my plan for this video right now, what I've got is, let's see, I've got a little notebook I'm writing in. Okay, so the journalist can investigate players, and once investigation is concluded, the player's corruption level, if the player's corruption level is above, like say 20%, the player becomes wanted, and the journalist gets paid for exposing the corruption. So there's, I'm thinking about making a microphone tool, there's the camera tool we've got already, and then a notepad. And what I'm kind of envisioning for this is a little bit, so each tool has a level of obnoxiousness to it. So like the microphone, it'll be like loud, and it'll like play like audio files of like, I guess, different voices, like trying to ask questions, you know? And you have to be like right next to the player that you're trying to like investigate. And so there'll be like a percentage, like as you're investigating the player. So like you have to like repeatedly do these actions to build up that meter, and then once you achieve that like full meter, then it'll reveal their corruption level. So the microphone, you gotta be like right up next to them, and be like loud. The camera, You can be a little ways away from them. You got to get pictures. They'll know because they can see the flash and they can hear it and everything. And then the notepad, you can be really far away and you can just like take notes quietly on a person. But each of those will have different like ratios of how much investigation they're revealing, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm gonna try and attempt to start doing today. Okay, so what I was just doing was I set up the basic corruption crime rating system, and then I had also created just a very simple tool to trigger a crime so I could track it and make sure it actually worked. So the tool itself is just a fart tool. You can fart in public, and some farts, it's not always going to but and so you can see down here in my output, there is a table. It has my name and then it has a value. And this value right here, so 10 and 15, it keeps going up. So each time it goes up by 5. And that is just my criminal rating at the time. And you can see there's times where you fart, it doesn't go because you're not actually pooping, there's fart. Farting's not a crime, pooping's a crime if it's in public. So, if we come here, let me show you the basic scripts, what I've got set up, so it's a little less confusing. If you look over here in Explorer, I have a main script. This is my main server script. And then if I come into my starter player scripts, I have a main local script. So what happens here is the local script is used to capture input from the player, and that triggers the remote events, which the remote events is the connection between the player's computer and Roblox's servers. This is to help minimize exploitation as much as possible, but that's the bridge, is remote events. So my remote events are stored in replicated storage under the remote event folder. And there's only 3 right now. So what I did is, for the corruption system, if I come here into the main script, I have a corruption module. So to start off, to make this a little bit easier, because there's a lot going on here, what happens is when a player is added to the game, the corruption module, which is this right here, this module script, it's called, but more specifically, there's a function in that module script called add player, and it calls that function and it passes the player name. So what that looks like on this side, if we come here into the corruption module, which is a module script that's just child underneath my main script in service script service. So this is the function add player. What happens, there's a table that I have up here, I'm sorry, not a table, a dictionary up here, and each time a player is added, it writes their name into the dictionary, and then it gives them a numeric value. And this numeric value is their criminal rating. So when a player joins, they have a value of 0. I'm going to have to do some data store stuff later on with this, because this can be abused by somebody leaving the game and then coming back in, and then all their crimes wiped. It's reset. So I see that. I'm going to have to fix that later. But that's my first dictionary, and then my second dictionary that I set up is like a list of crimes, and these are just some examples of stuff that I threw in there, and this is the one crime that we are actually using. So farting in public. I just call it farting in public because I noticed that the word poop is censored, so we're just gonna go with fart, you know, because freaking Roblox motherfuckers. So anyways, it's a low crime. It's only like a crime rating of 5. And my scale is going to be from 0 to 100. And the wanted system will kick in at 20. So if anybody has a crime rating of over 20 and they get discovered or exposed, then they can be arrested for a monetary reward. But anything below 20, yeah, give them a little leeway, you know. So what happens here? So let's go back to the tool, because this will be a little bit easier. So if we go to the client side code, I have a function set up to capture the input from the player's keyboard and their mouse. So what I've done is I've got a function, and what it's doing is it's seeing if the player is clicking the mouse button. And not only is it doing that, but it's checking to see if they have the proper tool equipped, and if it's in their hand, and if it's equipped, and if the debounce function is false. And what this does is this debounce, it's really just like a value up here, and see, it's this variable right here. And what it does is it lets me prevent, oh, actually, I'm glad I said that because I left out a piece. It lets me prevent people from spamming. So how this works is we're going to change the value of the debounce to true. That way, because the code's actively running. And then what we're going to do is if it runs in this in-between time, before it's changed back to false, the remote event won't be fired. So we're just going to do test.wait, and then we're going to wait 1 second. That's good enough, I think. And then tool debounce equals false. There we go. Oh, sorry, equals, not double equals. So the difference being, this is telling it, this is like changing the value, and this is reading the value. Okay, so we've got that, and what this is doing is this is firing the remote event, which the remote events are stored in my replicated storage under the remote events folder. It's firing this remote event specifically, and that is picked up by the main server script, and that's here. And if we go here, okay, here's the remote event. It's been picked up, right? And it immediately captures the player's name, because you can do that with remote events. It's very nice. And what's happening is there is a variable, the fart number, and this corresponds to which audio it should play. It does a math.random function, or yes, math.random 1 through 5, because there's 5 audios total. If it hits the 5th, if the number ends up being 5, that's like the wet fart sound, and then that's when it actually, your crime has been committed, and it does all the fun stuff. But what's happening here, like I described earlier, this is going back to the module, and this time it's called the crime committed. And so we pass the player name, and we pass the charge, like what the crime was that they did. And this is the charge list. And I've just got some print to show you so I could see myself that it was working. And then this is just using the dictionaries itself. I think I explained this earlier. And yeah, so that's what we've got, and this is what it looks like and sounds like. It's quite funny. Let's load. Yes. Got some farts. And you boot. Yep. Yep. And I've committed a crime now. There it is. So that's how it works.